Ow. My family came today, so you can see that. So welcome to OnSet. I am Daniel Norton, over here with Marissa and Seth on the, oh, Marissa gets clapped too. And Seth on the Mighty Mix. That's just one person.
I don't need your pity.
Well, they wouldn't have clapped at all for me if I didn't ask them. All right, so today we're going to talk about portraits and headshots and kind of what's the difference and kind of how this this kind of works together for us as photographers. And, you know, headshots are one of those things that a lot of people, when they're trying to get into photography and they want to make a little extra money, or maybe their friend asks them because they know that they're a photographer, they need a headshot, right? So it's a real practical thing to know how to do. And a headshot is kind of a kind of portrait. So in the same way that a square is kind of like a rectangle, right? Like a rectangle, a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. So a portrait might, rectangle isn't necessarily a square. By the way, so I'm going to go sideways. So I said this to somebody, they were probably in their 30s, maybe like a year ago, and they said, no, a square is not a rectangle. They told us in school it's not. So I was like, before I came on, I was like, maybe I should check that after 10 years to see if they were right. And I Googled, why would somebody say a rectangle is not a square? A square is not a rectangle. You know what the Google said? They don't understand math. So clearly Google now throws shade, which is really funny, and I appreciate that. So the point being is that technically a headshot is a kind of portrait, but it's a very specific kind of portrait. It's like when we teach beauty photography. Beauty photography is a specific kind of photography. It uses a lot of the same tools as portraits, but also fashion, but it's different. And a lot of the difference is the subtlety, and the subtlety is where your style, where the connection comes from, and what makes your photos elevated, right? So we're gonna start off, and we're gonna kind of talk about both things, and we're gonna kind of create a version of both, and we'll see, you know, where we go. So I will try to name all the gear I'm using as I go, but I will likely forget. But I'll start off by doing it. We got hold on. These are B10X pluses. So we're using Profoto B10X plus flashes today. Seth was nice enough to loan me his 3x4 foot softbox. And we're gonna start there. Now, a softbox is a really good tool. Is there something that you're doing? Okay, well, okay, the 3x4 softbox is going to be a useful tool for basically a very gentle light, a light that is going to be kind of gentle to the skin tone, to the texture of the skin, because, as we're going to use it anyways, because it's large. A large light source relative to your subject is going to be a soft light. So we often hear soft light. So if you're going for headshots, you generally are trying to avoid, in a classic headshot, a lot of drama. What you want is a shot that shows the person as they look, but at their best, right? That's going to be your baseline for a headshot. A portrait is ideally showing something about the subject, and that doesn't necessarily need to be their best or even show them at all. You could take portraits that you just show somebody's hands. We've seen these kind of things before. But for this process, we're going to shoot, you know, kind of classic portrait format. All right, so let's take a picture. If I don't take a picture within an X number of minutes, then Seth starts looking at me. All right, so come forward.
I want my money's worth, Dan. Let's go.
Right. So Marissa's just here against kind of a simple gray background, and we're gonna create kind of a big, open, soft light that's gonna be gentle for a headshot. And what we wanna consider is a few things. We wanna consider position of the light relative to our subject, so how close it is. And we also wanna consider position of our light relative to our subject. That is above her, to one side, whatever, because that's gonna control our shadows. So the closer the light is to Marissa, the more the light will wrap around, meaning it will kind of eliminate a lot of the shadow on her face. However, the closer the light is to Marissa, the darker the background will be, relatively speaking. So if we are trying to light the background as well, we may have to play a little game of balance. I don't really care if the background's exactly this color, and we have another light, so I could light it up. So we're gonna put the light as close as possible. Whenever somebody asks me, where should I put the light, right? Because you're learning, right? And you're just like, I have this light. Where should I put it? How close should I put it? The rule of thumb is as close as you can if you want soft light. Meaning put it as close as you can until it's in the shot and then back it up. That's a good place to go. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to frame up a shot. We're going to shoot. Now, a lot of headshots for websites and stuff are square. So I'm just going to shoot this horizontally, like the kids do, and then we can always crop it. So I've got Marissa here framed up. The very first thing I'm going to do before I even mess with the light, though, is I'm going to establish that none of the light in the space is affecting the shot except for the light that I bring. Seth set up all this light, and if I use it in my shot, he's going to take credit. So we want to get rid of this light. So we're going to set our camera so the light goes away. Fastest shutter speed in its normal range. 200 for this camera, which is a Nikon Z6ii. ISO lowest in the normal range. 100 for this camera. That gives us, it eliminates as much of the ambient light as possible because we have a fast shutter speed. And the ISO being lower is going to give us the most dynamic range and the nicer, no noise and such. What should we use for the aperture? That now depends on the space, right? If I'm out in the bright sun or somewhere where it's bright, I'm going to have to close down more to eliminate the light in the space. If I'm in a space that's totally dark, I don't have to. I know that you spent a bunch of money on that 1.4 lens, but if you're shooting a headshot, generally speaking, you don't want the tips of their eyelash in focus and the rest of them out of focus. So I don't mind having a bit more of a deep depth of field. I'm at 5.6 now. I think we're probably going to want to go to about 6.3 or 7.1. But you can find this out very simply by, if you have a mirrorless camera, especially by, oh, why did that, hold on. Yeah, my little button thing doesn't work anymore.
Little button thing, your shutter?
No, the button thing that makes the flash thing not, that shows me the actual exposure. Because I can't be the actual exposure. I'm spieling.
Blame it on me.
Yes, this gentleman in the front. What?
Because you didn't have the remote on, period.
Okay, that's what.
Also, something's on automatic.
Yeah, there's something weird there because that is not the exposure. So I'm looking at this right now, and I can see Marissa still through the back of the camera, and I've been here before. I know that at 100 ISO, 200th of a second, 5.6 or so, she should be super dark, unless Seth maxed these lights out when I wasn't looking. So camera acting weird, camera now fixed. I shut it off. I do stuff like that. It's probably a firmware update.
Yeah.
So I have my camera set. So you know how when you're using a digital camera, like this one, a mirrorless camera, generally you want to leave it, yeah, sure. Generally you want to leave it set so you can see through the camera, right? So you put it on the kind of the fake exposure mode, which is what we're at now. So when we look at this, this is not the exposure. This is just so I can focus. If I press this button, because I have it rigged in the front, I can actually turn that off. And what we're looking at now is the actual exposure. So that's pretty dark, right? Now, I know we have a lot of dynamic range. I could just shoot it like this and bring it up in post, but I can get in better exposure. It's probably good. Now, so we're going to get a black frame like this. We're going to take a picture. Nope. Do not look at this. Apparently the flash is on.
Squeeze the button while you shoot.
I'm going to squeeze the button while I shoot. There we go. Forget about the first shot. We'll just delete that part in the editing process. This is like one of those David Copperfield things where you guys in the audience will just pretend like you didn't see the magic. Okay.
Get rusty, huh?
I'm getting rusty. I'm getting old. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. Let me set up my capture one correctly. All right. So we can see our black frame here. So now we know that none of this light is affecting our shot. So now we're in control of our situation. If you are shooting headshots, classically for businesses and stuff, you may be in some conference room or some room full of cubicles that you need to shoot in the corner of. This is what you're going to want to do to get rid of that light, because we don't want that ugly light from their office in the shot. So I have beautiful light here, but if you... All right, so that's cool. We got that. That worked, but there's one final thing you want to do here. I'm in capture one, by the way, if I didn't say that. This is going to allow me to basically see everything we're doing, and also so that you don't just have to trust me. When we first used to do these demos, I would take a picture and I'd walk around to each person in the audience. It took a long time. So now we use this.
What's sad is that's true. That's what's sad about it.
Yes, it's true. Oh boy. Okay, so in capture one, I'm going to grab my adjustments. And all I'm gonna do is just what I might do in post. I'm just gonna bring the exposure up just to see where I can start seeing some neutral skin tone. And about right there, and we can see that I'm about 2 stops under exposed. So effectively, this is my shadow point, right? 2 stops under. That's enough for me. If I have to make a slight adjustment in post, I'm not gonna start pulling up this light. You wanna be about 2 stops, 3 stops under is a good space to be, but 2 is fine. Now we're gonna set up our light. Now, depending on who you're photographing is gonna kind of decide where you wanna put your light. But if we're kind of going for kind of generic work for anybody, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the light to one side and kind of forward, right? So that's kind of where it is. I'm gonna move it in. And now when you're putting a light up, the main key here is to have the center of the light above their eye level. So, question in the chat.
Heidi's asking probably a silly question, but do you ever use filters?
So do I ever use filters? Not for this. You know, filters can be very useful. A polarizing filter, for instance, to darken the sky, a neutral density filter to bring down light in the area. But in this situation, to throw a neutral density filter on my camera wouldn't make sense because I have high speed sync, which is a whole other class that we'll talk about another time maybe. But so no, as far as color filters, that's almost never useful because I can do the white balance in the camera, right? Because I'm not shooting film. The filter you might use is some kind of special effect filter, like this is probably why you're asking, like a net or something to soften things up. I mean, I did that in the 90s. I don't, a star filter, I did that in the 90s. I don't do that anymore, but if you like that.
Could you be more condescending? Like,
No, I'm being a wise guy. No, so it depends on what you want. So just to simply go through it, a softening filter is different than doing it in post. Unless you're really good at Photoshop, getting something like a white net can be really nice because it'll bloom the highlights. It'll actually kind of give a softness and a glow to the skin. A black net gives more of kind of an overall, like a high contrast, like a bit of more contrast and a softness. And a star filter might be useful if you have something like sequence. So yes, you could definitely use filters. I don't usually use filters though.
yeah, they were talking about Pro Mist apparently.
Pro Mist, yeah, they're super popular now. Filters kind of come and go in popularity, and they can be really fun to work with. I don't use them, but you know, they're definitely worth messing with. All right. And I wouldn't probably use them for this. I guess I should point that out too. In a headshot, we're gonna want to light it as cleanly as possible to make the person look as good, quote, as possible without doing a lot of retouching stuff. The worst thing, if I'm looking on like LinkedIn or something and I see some profile picture and the person looks like it's some Snapchat shot it just looks weird. It doesn't look right. We want to see what the person looks like. It's not a beauty contest, it's a headshot. It's supposed to look what you look like at your best. So we're gonna light it that way. Now Marissa, everybody can know in the audience, is hideous. But with a little bit of lighting, we can make her look decent. All right, so
Yeah, it's weather.
it's the weather. She's gonna blame the weather. Yeah.
It's weather.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just putting the light kind of somewhat to the front, and I'm looking through the back of my camera, and I'm just making sure it's not in the shot. If it's unclear because it's dark or something, you can put your hand on it. You know, make sure that you're not. So now the light is as close as possible without being in the shot. So this is basically as soft as this light's going to be in this position. And we're coming from the side, and the reason why I'm doing this is because this is kind of a good generic way if you're photographing a lot of different people. If I was just photographing Marissa, I would likely use more of what they call a butterfly pattern, that is with the light directly in front of her. But I find that for kind of a standard kind of corporate-y headshot, to have a 45 degree is more kind of more the norm, especially if you're doing mixed genders. All right. So I'm gonna use TTL, which is basically through the lens metering. The camera meter is going to work with the flash to give me this exposure, which is 7.1 at 100 ISO, 200 seconds. Okay, so let's take a peek. Boom. All right. So in theory, we're gonna have a shot. Yeah, there we go. So this is kind of nice. And we can see the background's gray. And again, we're gonna make it square. Let's see, where's my crop? Square. You know, to possibly be some kind of a It's a rectangle. Yep. There you go. Square. Boop, there we go. All right. So, oh, I have to click off the carpet. So now we have a nice square shot. Now this might be a little bit too far back to be a classic headshot. Basically, in most cases, you want to be closer to the person. But what you do want to do, for all the people that constantly yell at me, is you want to make sure you leave space around the head. So the reason for this is because if we're putting them on a website, and a lot of times these things are against white, what you're going to find is if you like chop into the head or you chop into the person in a funny way, it's going to look weird. It's going to break up the square pattern. So you definitely want to show the full silhouette in a headshot. All right. I'm actually going to raise the light a tiny bit. Now, the other thing here is this, and you can see the background's lit. So it looks pretty good. We do have a bit of a gradation from this side to this side. This is the advantage of using a giant light. Like if you're trying to create what is effectively a simple shot that'll work for anyone, you want to go with the lowest common denominator, so big old soft light. If I was just creating a picture, which we will later, Marissa, for like more of a portrait, something stylistic, I would not use this giant light. I think it's good for this kind of stuff. Now, you could do a couple things. We could fill in. Well, I guess we should do that because you do it every time. Everybody likes to fill. Do we have the pizza box? No, we use the. All right, so this is. What's this? It's a reflector. It's a Brooklyn reflector, exactly. Not that fancy one that's that. This is the. You
just want to fight later? What is going on today?
Original ray. All right, this is a Brooklyn reflector. So this is a reflector. It's just basically a piece of board. Anything that we bounce light off will become a reflector on some level, right? The brighter it is, or the more reflective, if it's silver or something, it's metallic, it'll reflect more light. If it has color cast to it, it will reflect the color. We just want simple white. So I'm just going to come in here, and you can buy the pop-up ones, of course, or frames. There's lots of different kinds of reflectors, right? And we can come in and fill a little bit with the reflector, right? And this will give us basically a more natural kind of even light. Now, if I'm doing a headshot, again, this is probably what I'm going to want to do because I want to keep this as flat as possible because I want it to work for as many people as possible. You can have your reflector and then take it in or out depending on the person. In fact, if I was shooting several people with headshots, I'd probably have this and I would shoot a couple without and then a couple with, so you have to have a mix, right? But I think what we're going to do is add a little bit more depth to this. And this will kind of elevate it to the next level because this is really, I know I chopped the top of her head after I see it. I can't help myself. It's because Marissa moved closer to the camera again. Marissa's bad at staying in space. Okay. We're going to add a second light. Two reasons for that. One is going to add some dimensionality. Two is you get paid more when you use more lights. So, this is a strip box. I got to turn it on from over here. This is in my B group, so I guess I probably didn't say that. These lights are in groups, so I can control them separately, the power. This is my A group, my B group. We're going to aim this light. So Marissa looks in my direction. Yep. We're going to aim this so that it kind of skirts past her. This has a grid on it, which I'm going to remove. The grid is nice because it narrows the spread, but here I want a wide spread, especially because the light's so close to her. I'm going to get back here. We're just going to kind of, yeah, that's probably pretty good. Now I know what you're saying. You said that light's not pointing at her. That's right. You want to confuse your clients. Don't ever point the light at them. If the light's pointing at them, they're going to be like, "Oh, you're taking a picture of me." Here, she has no idea what I'm doing with this light. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn off the A light and just shoot the B light. Now, I will warn you that TTL, which is what we're using here to make our exposure, it has a lot of trouble with backlighting. So this could be really bad right now. But I'm not worried. You know why? Because if it's bad, it's this guy in the front row. We know that already. Okay. Okay. Wow, that actually came over much further. What did you do? Okay, so we can see the lights coming from the... I should have left the grid on there. Okay, so I'm going to spin it a little more this. I'm going to put the grid on because it actually is spreading way more than I thought it was going to. So, I mean, it did exactly what I wanted to do. Yeah, it's just a show. All right, I'll put this back on.
Hey, what's going on, Ron? Thanks
Yeah,
for
you can
joining.
call it rim light. Okay, so we're just going to try it again with the grid. Now, I don't have to make any adjustments because I'm using through the lens metering or TTL. Too much. Da-da-da. I probably should have looked and not just put the grid on. There we go. We got this. You never want to do it on the first try. If you do it on the first try, then all these CEOs are going to be like, why am I paying you so much money? It's like, oh no, I got to work for it, sir. There we go. All right, so we're coming in. It's hitting the top of those a little bit, but we're going to work on that. And we've got basically a separation light. And I'm going to now kit on my main light, which again is in the A group. So I more did that for positioning, right? So I could see where it was. We're going to deal with exposure now. I put both lights on, and we're going to fire them, and we're going to see what we get with TTL. I'm going to have Marissa work just slightly this way. There we go. Eyes up. Good. Good. There we go. Okay. So now we know our lights are in the right position, and we can see that this doesn't look like it's hardly doing anything because the TTL is realizing it already has its shot. So now that we're here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my ratio. This is the B light. I'm basically just going to bring it up. Nope. I'm going to bring it up. Well, let's say stop. And so this isn't going to actually change the power of the light specifically, but rather the ratio of the... Okay, give me a second.
Show that to the B group.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it fired before it was in the video. All right. Excuse me. This is doing exactly as planned.
Not in TTL.
I just took it out of TTL. Because I just cranked it 2 stops to see what it would do and it didn't do anything. All right. Hit it. Can you take a shot? Just fire it. I just want to see if it's hit firing. Oh, it is firing for sure.
Oh no, it's on a cheek line.
There we go. There. All right. And there we go. Perfect. So let's get it one which is not making a funny face. Good. All right. All right. So now what we're getting here is subtlety, right? This is adding a little bit of depth, right, with the hair light here. It's also adding a little bit of texture to the skin. So what we want to be careful of here is, again, if you have somebody who has, let's say, acne or skin that maybe is more texturous that we don't really want to showcase, we can dial this down, we can turn it off, right? But it's here, so for somebody who doesn't have that situation, or possibly if you want to make somebody a little bit more athletic, or people that have really square, faces that we want to showcase that, we can turn this power up and down as needed. Once we're in position, we can adjust as needed. And if you notice here, now that we have that second light fired, it doesn't even feel like we need that fill. But we can still do it because, it's always worthwhile to do the fill. You just don't want to block the light, obviously. Okay. There we go. So now we've got even headshot, simple light. And if you want to be more kind of headshotty, I'd probably get a little closer to her, which I can do by zooming. This is a zoom lens. That means that when you turn the thing, you probably know about that. They call this a zoom lens. You turn the zoom. Okay. All right. Now, I tend to not crop in so close to people with this kind of stuff because people move. And I'd rather shoot a little bit wide, and then I have plenty of megapixels, right? But here we have the most basic LinkedIn kind of boring, but useful and important kind of headshot, right? There's not anything here that says anything special about Marissa, except that she's an attractive young lady that's the CEO of Marissa Inc.
So they're asking, should you be doing this in TTL or manual?
Okay, so should I be doing it in TTL or manual? So what TTL does is it helps you just quickly use the meter in your camera and the meter in the flash to base your exposure down. If you are changing things around a lot, I tend to leave it in TTL because the lights are moving and I don't want to forget that I move something. I don't adjust my lights. You see, I already forget stuff. So you want me to forget one more thing? Once you're set up like this and we're not changing anything, then I would switch to manual, which is exactly what we ended up doing, right? I'm in manual now. So if all of a sudden I decided to get crazy and move a light really far away, the exposure would be garbage. But exposure is the same no matter who the subject is for the most part. So once it's set, whether it's Marissa or it's me or whoever standing here, I don't have to change anything. It's the correct exposure. They're always going to look right. So if I have 20 people coming in, they can step in, they can step out, step in, step out. I can make a quick adjustment to the backlight if I want more contrast or less, and I can fill or not fill, and I'm basically good to go. That makes sense? Yeah. So, and of course, you could do any number of things, and we've done all kinds of stuff with like making the background white. You know, there's not a lot of space here, and I don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to blow the background out, but a white background is often used for these kind of things. You just want to light it evenly. So this is fine, and this is good, right? And the same properties and techniques that we're using here can apply to a portrait depending on the situation. But what we want to think about is who is the person and what's going on in the portrait. And there's two kinds of portraits. There's two kinds of people. There's two kinds of portraits, generally speaking. One that is about the subject, and the other one is about the photographer. You know, Richard Avedon pretty famously said in his American West series that he created those portraits of what he thought, not what those people really were. And of course, some of them were like, no, he found something in me, but so there's a contrast there, right? He saw something and it was about him, his thoughts of the person, not who they really were necessarily. And that's kind of a real deep thing that you can get with a portrait. You get somebody in front of your lens and you see something there. You make this connection, whether it be by what they look like, where you met them, what you know about them, if it's somebody you actually know, and you bring something out onto the film or the digital, in this case, the sensor, that is something special. And that's really where the portrait comes in, you know? So if we want to do something that's more of a portrait, a lot of times we could do it with flat light, right? But a lot of times a simple way to kind of move into it is to really use a different kind of light to kind of bring something out.
They're asking in the chat, what's the ideal camera to subject height?
Okay, so the ideal camera to subject height, it depends on the how much of the person you're shooting. So, for instance, if I am shooting a headshot and I want it to be level with the person, which is generally what I want. So I guess the answer is level, right? Then I'm gonna have to raise the camera because her head is taller. If I'm shooting her, as you saw, half her body, my camera was lower because with the framing, the camera was still level. And if you're shooting somebody full length, oftentimes your camera is going to be about their waist height. If you want the camera to be level, which is what I generally want to do in 90% of my time, and certainly in a headshot. You don't want to be shooting down on somebody or up on somebody in a headshot. A headshot should be pretty neutral. That's neutrality. If you shoot up at somebody, it makes them dominant in the image. If you shoot down on them, it makes them submissive, right? That's kind of, and you can really exaggerate these things if you want, but generally speaking, we don't want that in a headshot. We want it to be neutral. So for a headshot, I would say any position that you don't have to raise tilt the camera up or down is the right height, depending on your framing. Portraits, all rules go out the window for that. Other questions, thoughts, concerns? Yes.
As far as headshots, I mean, you have people that are actors, models. There is a difference. Right?
Is there a difference between an actor and a model?
No, I'm saying, as far as the lighting for an actor or
so,
someone that's a model or
so there's lots of different
commercial.
Lots of different thoughts about actors' headshots. Generally, an actor's headshot is good. It needs to be just like what we just did here. Clean, represents them as they look, but generally you really want to pull more personality. I mean, you can get personality out of a corporate headshot as well, but in an actor's headshot, it's a lot more important because you're trying to sell that. A model doesn't really need a headshot because models aren't playing themselves unless they become a supermodel and then there's a whole other thing, then they're an actor or a celebrity. A model is portraying somebody. Their image should look the way that an image should look. If they're 14 years old and jawline like this and boom, they're a beauty model, you're shooting a beauty picture. That's their headshot. If they're a commercial model, you're shooting them drinking a Coca-Cola, that's their headshot. So yeah, there's no real like standard for a model. It really depends on the role they're playing.
So they're asking if you want to clarify about cropping the top of the head, like.
Okay, so for a classic headshot, I would not crop the top of somebody's head off. So this question comes up for people that are new, that I often in my work crop off the top of somebody's head. I might do it for an actor because it's, again, it's a different kind of shot. It's a singular shot that they're showing. This kind of shot is what you're going to see on a company website. And what you don't want to see is cropped here, not cropped, cropped here, white background, things are bleeding over. You want to make sure they're consistent. So if you're shooting for something like this, like LinkedIn or that kind of stuff, leave space. If you're shooting something that, a portrait, number one, that you would just want to be more depth, or it's something for an actor, you can choose to cut in their head if you want. You don't have to. I like to do it because I find that it has a more cinematic vibe. It's also why a lot of people shoot horizontal now for actors' headshots.
Then if you blow it up, you're gonna need
Yeah.
space.
Okay, is that it? Okay, perfect. Let's move on. So let's jazz this up a little bit. So like I said, the simplest way to do this, and I like to be simple.
Do you want to talk a little bit about choice of modifiers? Because they're asking pretty much like.
Yeah, let's talk about choice of modifiers. So we're about to do this. So it's perfect. Good timing. I chose for this, as I mentioned at the beginning, the big old softbox, because the big old softbox is an easy button. It's, hold on, it's in the name, soft, right? And it's going to have a good coverage. It's going to wrap around. It's going to be gentle on most people. And for a standard kind of headshot, we want it to be gentle because, as I mentioned, you don't want to be retouching a bunch of pictures. This is your retouch button. Giant, soft light at the right angle will virtually eliminate blemishes, except for really major ones. That's what you want. What we're about to switch to is not going to do that. A portrait, we want to think about what is the feeling that we want to get from this, right? What is the mood that we want? And for Marissa, the mood is not big old soft boring light. Marissa's not big old soft and boring, right?
That was your nickname in high school.
Yeah. So if we're shooting a portrait and we're trying to create some kind of a vibe or a story, we're going to choose our light based on that. So in this case, I'm going to use a beauty dish because I want to use a punchier light with a grid, and we're going to celebrity up Marissa, because she's a superstar.
And the other question in the chat is focal length choice.
Okay, so for focal length, again, for a kind of a standard headshot, you probably want to be somewhere 50 to 100 is generally a pretty normal space to be in. Everybody's screaming 85, It depends on how you're framing it up. What I always think about is where I'm standing. So if you notice, I didn't really move myself, right? I got a little bit closer to it at one point, but I haven't moved. She hasn't moved. But yet the shot got closer. I zoomed. So what did I do? I changed my focal length. When I first started, I was shooting somewhere probably, I can tell you. Look at computers will tell you. Computers can tell you what it was.
Data.
I was shooting at 49 millimeters to start off, so a little wide, because I said 50 was the base. And I went to 59.
Well, we're technically cropping the sensor, aren't we, with the square? Technically?
Yeah. Yeah, we're a square right now. Of course, I also have a square on there. So, yes. It also depends on how you're shooting, right? I'm shooting horizontally. This comes down to the square format. So I need to actually be a little bit wider to get what I want. If I was shooting vertically, I could have got the same shot with a longer focal length. But for me, this is about as far away as I want to be when I'm shooting somebody. That's what I like.
One last question before you go on to your next setup.
Give
Roger's
me a
asking
break.
if you're shooting horizontally, why not turn the softbox horizontally?
Okay, so why not turn the softbox horizontally? Because I'm shooting horizontally. I mean, those two things are not related, is the reason, and now I'll explain it. Basically, horizontal and the camera in this situation doesn't have anything to do with the horizontal light. What would happen if I turn this light horizontally is it would, well, first of all, if I just turn it horizontally, which isn't probably what they mean, it wouldn't do much of anything because it would just basically keep it where it is. Like, look at the edge of the light. It's exactly where it is. We just get a little bit more light behind her and more fall off. Maybe that's what they're asking. I don't need all the light down to the bottom. But what you get with the horizontal light is, again, what I said, more light behind her, which I may not want, right? That's why I didn't do it. Now I could, of course, and I almost did this, but you know, I decided not to. I could go horizontal and then move the light like this. Now, the reason why I didn't do this is what I said at the beginning. I'm setting up something that's generic. It wasn't just for Marissa. It was for everybody here who's getting a headshot, right? I need to have a light that's more versatile. Typically, for a generic light coming from one side, more or less to the front, is a good standard shot for most people, most face types, whatever. If you're shooting certain types of people, having the light directly in the front and down, AKA butterfly lighting, is a really nice technique. It doesn't work as generically as the other setup. That's why I went that way to start with. So that's the reason. I guess that's what you're asking about, is fall off. Now, also look at this and know that I'd have to tilt the light more in order to get the light to fall far enough down to get the headshot, which would then make the light a little bit more contrasty, right? So these are all reasons why I chose that. But that's a great question because, you know, here I am just doing it and I know all that and you didn't know. So, or maybe you did know. Yes. How different could the light be if I wanted butterfly? Well, good for you to ask that because I'm right here. Let me do it. For you, for tonight only. All right, so if I'm shooting like this with the light more or less, I mean, I'm not doing a full butterfly because I don't want to fly the light because then the sandbag police come. They get all mad if you don't use the sandbag. No, we'll actually do it in a second. But so we put the light kind of in the middle, kind of a butterfly. And this light right here is going to need to be tilted down slightly in order to get the right vibe, because otherwise it's going to shoot past her. We're wasting light, right? Wasting way too much light. I'm just going to lower this for a second so I can do that. So we're going to do a little tip. All right, bring it up. So again, this is a little bit off to the one side, so it's not perfect butterfly lighting, but you know, they'll revoke my butterfly lighting license. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. I'm keeping it still relatively flat because I don't want to add too much contrast, just to show you the difference in position. Now I am in TTL, so in theory, nothing else should change, right? So we can see that on Marissa, this is a great kind of light, right? It really works. It doesn't work for everybody. That's why I didn't do it. And actually, we're going to go here with the beauty dish next, so you got a little preview. So this is interesting, right? Because now Marissa's got this like kind of almost celebrity kind of starlit vibe because we're doing this butterfly light that has that effect. The butterfly light is focusing on the face, falling off sharp, making the chin stick out, right? That's good, but this is a little bit flat. It's just kind of a really pretty shot. And we want something with a little more depth, so we're going to switch to a different modifier. Do you see the difference? Yeah. So just always use butterfly light. That's really, yeah, thank you. Marissa might actually use that shot.
I always forget to get the photos.
I see her eyeball on it. I'm not going to dent the dish. I've only done that a couple times.
I gotta stop bringing my own stuff.
All my headshots.
You want a grid?
Yes, please. So I'm going to use a beauty dish with the grid. I think we're going to fly this actually. Yeah, so we need a sandbag. Sandbag police. Are you still standing there, Marissa? I don't want you to light. Okay. Thank you.
Somebody
Thank you. All right.
Just collapse it.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to collapse it with the fabric in it. This is one of those super special Profoto collapsible Who's Watsits. That was cool, right? Oh, look at that. But you can't see it.
What are you trying to do?
I'm going to show the bad light.
Would you let me switch it?
Well, I'm not going to show it to you yet because there's a beauty dish in there. Forget it. Nobody got to see what I saw. Yeah. Okay. Now I was just going to show you the shadow on the wall and make a joke about it, but now I can't make my joke because Seth ruined it. Or maybe you ruined it. All right, so we're switching to a more dramatic light because I want to create a little bit more of a scene here because, you know, Marissa's a ham. What can we say? So we'll start with the butterfly light though, just because this is how I might use a beauty dish normally, but we're probably going to do it a little bit. And we're booming it out. This is one advantage of a C-stand. If you're going to use a C-stand with an arm, you want to get one of these pins here. This pin will allow you to hold the light up like this. If you stick the light on the other side of the C-stand without the knuckle, that little end piece that sticks out there, because I know you're tempted to do that, Seth will show up at your house and he will take that light down. It is very unsafe. I shouldn't say that because people probably want you to come. 200 likes and I put a dent in the beauty dish. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. I need at least 500 likes for that. Seth does not want his beauty dish to be dented. All right, perfect.
Yeah, we already got a beauty dish that's dented. We want that.
Mine is dented. All right. So now we've got a beauty dish, and this beauty dish has a grid, a honeycomb grid on it. And again, much like this grid, the grid reduces the spread of the light. The grid does not focus the light. If I'm walking by on the street and I hear you on set and you're telling somebody that the grid's focusing your light, I'm going to come on your set and take it away. Doesn't focus the light, it reduces the spread. Focusing it increases power. We're going to use this to basically spotlight Marissa, and then we're going to kind of come in and jazz it up. So whenever you're booming something like this, you want to throw a sandbag, throw it over the long leg, and keep all your weight over the long leg. Seth has a whole video about this on his channel, and it's really good. Yeah. What's the vibe? The vibe is a young starlet in New York City. There we go. All right, so I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. I always have to get Marissa, which is left. All right, we're going to go. Actually, let me just do this. Okay. All right, so first we're gonna walk through the process again, just so that we got everybody on the same page. I'm turning off the light in the back. That's in my B group. And we're just gonna start with the beauty dish. Now remember, you can already get a hint of it here. See the difference in the background? Right? That's because the light's not reaching the background, right? Two reasons. One is because Marissa's closer to the light than she was before, right? So that's the inverse square law. The second reason is because of the grid in the angle of the light. It's kind of like hitting just a little bit. You can kind of see how it's uneven. It's hitting a little bit of the background, then the rest is going down. So effectively what we're getting here is a quasi black background. We're not getting a totally black background, we're getting a quasi. What's the question?
They're asking what exactly a modeling light does, and are there times you'd shut it off? What does a modeling light do, and are there times you would shut it off?
Okay, so the modeling light allows you to see exactly where the light's positioned or pretty close to it. I shut it off usually because it burns the battery and we're using battery-powered lights. If you have non-battery-powered lights, I would probably just leave it on. Unless you're using some kind of a gel or something that might melt. All right, so here we go. We're going for the, oh, you're good. I'm gonna raise my camera a little bit. I'm not copping off the top of her head yet because I don't feel like it. All right, so we can see the difference already with the beauty dish. Not only is the background darker, but it's also punchier, right? It's almost to the way we're almost losing detail because it's a silver beauty dish. Silver is specular. Specular versus diffuse, right? That's your highlight. So specular beauty dish, silver is blowing out the highlight and her skin is a little bit on the highlight side. So we're getting blown out skin. It kind of creates that more glamorous look. And that's what we're getting there. I think it's a little too bright for me. She's looking a little pasty. So I'm gonna kind of mess with my exposure, bring it down a little bit. There is detail there though. This isn't overexposed.
That's
it's
dead on. That's
yeah. This is basically right, but I might, I'll leave it where it is.
roll our eye underneath it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, okay. Seth does not like canoeing.
I don't know if you talk.
No, that's like a weird internet term that I never heard. So basically, if somebody's looking up like that and you see a little white under their eyes like that in that shape, some people call that canoeing.
Well, the real thing is like,
Yeah.
if you have your light blocking the black part of the iris, you kind of lose the eye itself. So
Exactly.
you can keep their face in that position and just ask them to roll their eye just below the modifier, and then they won't be reflecting directly in that eye like that.
Exactly. That'll get you the black of the eye back. Okay. And she's also looking off to the side, which I'm going to go with. Okay.
Yeah, you see the difference? Oh, it's an eyeball. Woo.
Yep. There we go. Right. Okay, I don't want more of you. So, I mean, I know I'm talking a little bit of a head off, but I really feel like I want to get punchier here. And the other thing I want to do with this is I went back to 50, by the way. I'm going to leave myself at 50. I'm just going to get a little closer. All right.
Hey, look at the black center part. Will that also work or no?
A black center part of what?
Never mind, actually.
No, ask the question.
Well, there's like,
No.
I know my answer.
No,
It's
no.
gonna be like a ring light.
Yeah, so if you look at directly at the light, which is what she's asking, then you'll actually get more of the effect that we had at the beginning. What you actually want to do is have your chin up, but then look kind of over here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting a little punchier. We're getting closer. Now, what we get here is by getting closer physically, we're getting a little more intimate with our subject, right? I wouldn't do this with a headshot. You'd be too close, right? But here we're starting to feel like we're with Marissa. It's also extending and stretching out her features, and she's exaggerating. We're getting a little bit more of that, right? Now, I think the other thing we might want to do here is add a second light because, you know, more money and all that. But first, I just want to show you what a reflector will do because, again, that's what we do here. Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. So Seth basically pointed out what you're about to see, which is that with the grid, it's compressing the spread of the light, right? So we're not going to have as much light to reflect. So we're going to move it in real close and see if we can get something with it, but it's questionable. Yeah, right there, look right there, it's good. Yeah, nothing, right? So if you want this kind of like butterfly light, but you also want fill, then you have to use what's called an active fill, right? This kind meaning with the grid. Active fill means another light, right? I don't want to fill it in. I want to actually use some light from the back. So we're actually going to stick with our strip bank and we're going to mess with it a little bit here. And we're going to actually go with, I might have you look at it this way. Let me just try something, yeah. I'm going to have her, I'm taking Seth's advice from a crop yesterday. Oh, you didn't see it if you were the critic. Yeah, there we go, I like that. Yeah. We're going to build a little tension by having her at that side of the frame. And I'm going to actually, I might lower the exposure. It should look a little bit cool. I'm going to just adjust my white balance here for a second. No, that's right, okay. I just feel like it's a little cool. I'm right, okay. I'm going to bring this light in and we're going to do something a little more dramatic. We're creating some drama here. Now, again, a portrait doesn't have to be dramatic. I'm just choosing to make Marissa dramatic because, you know, if you've ever hung out with Marissa, you know she's a drama queen. In all the best ways. Okay. So we're bringing this light in here. This is my B group. Turning it on. Again, I'm just in TTL. And we're just going to go. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. You got that little, all right, we just need a better like position and stuff. I think you're too twisty. Come this way. Yeah, and then just go this way slightly with the face. And then that's it, and then project. Good, yep, and yep. Oh, yeah, there we go. So we can see here that now we're getting a little bit more depth to the shot, right? We've got this light coming in the back. I left the background that kind of imperfect black because I kind of like it. But now we're starting to get a little bit of glow here with this hair light behind her, and she's in the space, right? It feels a little more connected to her. I would love a little bit of fill. We don't have another light, right? Oh, I can use.
I got more lights, but we're gonna have to take. What do you want?
No, I just want to fill in a little bit under her chin.
Into a bounce on the floor. What do you want to do?
I just want to get a little bit of fill on her face. What if can we bounce? What if we use this light?
I got that plug in and I got.
Oh yeah. Do you think this will do it? It might actually. Let me just try this.
From that light, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I got it. All right. Turn down a little bit. Good. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Just a little bit. So we're adding a little bit of fill here. Now, I kind of like you looking more this way, though. Yeah. And then I'm going to kind of come in and use that little bit of fill, although I almost really like you know what, maybe I think an active fill is better. All right, we'll try. Chin down a smidge, right there. All right, yeah, come back a little bit towards me with your face. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, perfect. Let's bust it out with another light. We're getting a little bit tighter here as we want to be. Oops. And I feel like I like the smirk. This is we're getting a little Marissa going on. Yeah. You did not see what just went on.
So
Yes.
What do you want to do? Bounce into
Yeah, let's bounce into the card. You want to just do like a...
do a shorty, right?
Oh, okay. All right, we're going to add a third light here because we got the budget.
You want to kick it? What do you want to do it?
You know, it'd be cool. Am I going to be too complicated? Do we have something that's colorful? Will we do a color bounce? We're going to do a quick color bounce because, you know, you guys paid a lot to be here.
Green.
Pink.
this to you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were giving us choice. What do we think? Pink, not green. Do that blue?
A lot of packing peanuts all over the
Oh,
I think there's a... Nah. No, wait. No, I think that's...
I'll go with pink. All right.
You're kind of throwing wild cards.
I'm throwing wild cards at you because, you know, we're trying to stay on our toes here. So I'm going to put this pink reflector on here. And we're going to bounce that other light off of it. No.
You TTO?
Yeah.
You want a TTO?
C. Yeah. Well, no, I would just turn it all the way down to... I can go out of TTO.
I can put it in D.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I just turn it down. We just bounce a little bit off of
What
this.
are you at on that? 6.
Okay. I don't 6.2. All right. So what we're doing here, guys, is I've got this card over here, and we added a little pink to it just to kind of break it up a little bit. And we're going to see if we can get a little bit of a flash bounce off of this, just to fill in a tiny bit.
Cough.
Okay.
Turn it back on.
The sound's back. Let me tell you something.
When Dan coughs, he mutes, and then he forgets.
This guy in the front row kicked the audio cable, ruined it. Everybody online, send him an email. Okay, so what we're doing, let me go back and rewind. Actually, maybe we just didn't want you to know. Come to the store.
Even know that you were coughing.
What's fun about doing a live stream is the delay. Because you'll turn the sound back on, and then we're still going to get people going, there's no sound, there's no sound, there's no sound. Although the delay is...
You get to live in the mistake you made
Yes,
for like the next
exactly.
15 minutes. It's amazing.
All right, so I'm going to recap because I turned the sound off. All right, so we came over here. We put a third flash, minimal power. It's bouncing off this card, which is a mixture of green, pink, and white, just to fill in a little bit under her chin. Because what we were getting...
You know what we can do? We shut off everything except that light and show where it's hitting.
Yeah, we can do that. What we were getting was this, right? I mean, look at the face she was making with that light. And then once we have the better light, she's just like, oh no, now I feel like a superstar. Here I am. But in the first light, she was like, you know. All right, we're gonna just shoot each light individually, just so you can see what's going on, because you know that's how we like to document life. So first, we're gonna just shoot the key light, which is A. That's the beauty dish right in front. We're in manual now, so nothing's going to change. So it's just a beauty dish. No, it's not.
Lies.
Oh, you didn't turn off D.
Oh, I don't have D. Okay,
Oh,
that's
you
fine.
didn't turn off anything.
Oh, I turned off B? Oh, yeah, right. Hold on.
Wait, what did you just?
Well, how did I get down to D? Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. I didn't realize you slid down there.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
Right. Look at you. I'm so proud of you.
Reading comprehension. All right, here we go. It's this digital stuff. All right, beauty dish only. Okay, not bad, right? Beauty dish off. Hair light. All right, that's the hair light doing. All right,
You can
really
see
nice.
the pink coming off of that too.
You can see the pink bouncing off. And then finally, our fill light. Right? And that's why you get all that color, right? When we put it all together,
Technically, the pink is kind of like a beauty gel at this point. It's kind of
Yeah,
just, if
it's
you have someone that's like a
cosmetic.
little like muted skin tone, it'll give it a little weird warmth. Or we're just using paper for no reason.
uh-oh, I kicked back into TTL when I did that.
You pushing buttons?
I don't know. We're just going to go for it. Here we go. Last shot of the day, unless it's terrible because we can't end on a bad shot.
Hey.
Okay. Okay, let me just tweak this a little bit because, yeah, it's a lot here. All right, yeah. It will jump back into TTL. All right. B. All right, here we go. Come this way slightly. There we go. Perfect. I also came down a little bit because we don't want so much at the top of our head. There we go. And we got all the stuff kicking over. Good. We'll just pretend like that was we'll just pretend like that was the last shot. That one rather. No, it's this one. Yeah. All right. All right. So basically, what we're getting here is emotion, right? Texture of light. What we're getting here is clean. Oh, not that one. That's very cover girl.
You should finish with your shot from the light from the back. That's a huge difference.
Just the light from the back.
You know how you do the corner.
Oh yeah, sure, I can do that. So as we're looking at these two images, right, we can see that one of them, you know, is just real clean and simple, and this falls closer into the headshot category, right? The other one has a little bit more emotion to it. She's not necessarily drawing into the camera. The lighting isn't as perfect, although I still went with the clean light, but there's something a little bit more depth to it. You can get away with that more in a portrait, something a little more stylized. You don't have to show the top of the head. But we're going to come back and we're going to do one kind of final shot because I always end it this way. Sometimes it's magnificent, sometimes it's not. But we're going to basically shoot a, exactly, perfect, Marissa. We're going to do a quick little light from the back because I always like that. All right, this is B. Any questions why? Yeah, I was going to use the softbox.
Oh, yeah.
It's already back there, I figured.
That just saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go simple. For once, I'm trying to not make Seth's life terrible. All right. We're going to do something with a little bit more drama for this last shot, hopefully, or if not, then we'll just if the live stream just suddenly ends, that means this is terrible. Or this guy kicked the wire. All right, come this way a little bit with your face, right there, chin up a little bit, extend your chin like powerful. No, extend like like a turkey. Up, right there. Okay. Okay. That is way too bright, but we're in the right time for the right kind of. Actually, you know what? Who asked about this before? Somebody online, I think. I know, you're not supposed to do this, but I'm getting a little crazy. Like if your client shows up and you have this going on, they're gonna be like, what's happening with this person? We're going sideways, strip bank. In the industry, we call this side strip. I just made that up. Okay, stand back police. Boom. That's probably gonna be overexposed because it's a, yep, okay. 1 second, I'm gonna throw it into manual. So basically the TTL is giving us way too much light because remember I mentioned at the beginning, sometimes TTL does not do a great job from the back. Now, if this happens to you, what you can do is just grab, to be honest, it's not that bad. You can grab the exposure slider and just bring it down until it starts to look reasonable. Like about right there. And that's a stop and a half. It was at 8.5. So 7.57 is where I want to be. All right, so here we go. We got tension. Yeah, we do it.
Bounce.
Yeah, I was gonna say we want to bring bounce in. Yeah, yeah, a little drama. Now we just got a tiny bit of a bounce. This is what makes or breaks it right here, guys.
Which way do you want to do? You want to do
I was thinking in our eyeball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Project, powerful. Chin up a smidge right there. Oops. Oh, too much.
too much bounce?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's too low.
Yeah, too low. Yeah. Maybe can you do it right here? No.
I don't think it's.
I don't know, grab anything from up there? Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
There it is. Right? And then so what we're doing here is we're just creating depth and feeling, and this has nothing to do with Marissa, but and everything to do with me because I like to do this shot. And sometimes we can do that. We can play around with that in a session like this. Questions, thoughts, concerns. Oh, a question, 2 questions. Oh my, wow. Yes, in the back with the picture profile. That's a setting in the camera, right? I'm shooting raw. Does that matter? No, normal, depth, portrait, no, normal, flat. What picture profile am I using?
It doesn't matter because we're in RAW.
Okay,
so
that's right.
picture
Okay.
profiles will only stick to JPEG anyway. So
So I'm shooting raw. Okay, I just want to make sure that was true. I never use any of that stuff because I just shoot raw. But I guess whatever the most neutral one is where I would set it because that's where the raw picture is going to go. Thank you. It took me years to develop the skin tone technique. It has nothing to do with Marissa.
by years, he means he bought that camera.
Well, what's great about this is if you are a headshot photographer working with an actor or an actress, you start with the boring light, and they're trying to get the attention of a casting director or an agent. You get their attention, and then other changes on their website helps casting director see them in a different light, and this is great.
Okay, so I'm going to make that shorter if that's okay, because that was tremendously long. That's what we call dead air because they can't hear you, and everybody online is
Thanks,
like, "What's
Charles.
going on?"
Thanks, Charles. We appreciate it.
So
thanks.
yeah, you could start off right. If it was an actor, you could get a nice clean shot you want to get, and then shoot some fun stuff to expand on it. Especially people who have Instagrams, for their stories to put on their website. So if you are shooting people in the industry, yeah, mix it up. There's no reason you can't mess around. We used to call that testing. Yes. Do I usually light from the left side? That's a good question. You should basically examine each person and decide where you think they should be lit best from. But in these demos, I always light from this side. Do you know why? Because you guys. Yeah, because if I put the light here, everybody goes, "Oh, I can't see the moon." But yeah, I tend to shoot that way, just as the way I go. But if I'm examining somebody for the first time, especially somebody who's never been photographed before, like a new person that's not a model person, I will just tell them, look, we're starting off for this first 15, 20 minutes. I'm just going to move the light around a bunch. These aren't meant to be great shots. We're just trying to feel you out. And I will literally move the light from each side, have them turn different ways, go above, and I'll just try a bunch of different stuff. And then I'll look at it and decide what I think is best. So yes, every person's a little different. And somewhere in some book in 1975, they're going to tell you exactly how to know by looking at somebody's nose shape. Just look through the camera and decide.
Real quick, there's a lot of, just like your question about the picture profile, there's a lot of questions about what we're using in Capture One. This is raw. What I think you're seeing is just what lighting can actually do as far as actual accurate color, actual depth of color, actual shadow tones. It's not filters or anything. This is just, I think we've been brainwashed to go my camera needs to look special. Let me buy a preset from this YouTube kid. No, learn light and you'd be surprised how much you get out of what you already have,
Yeah, there is nothing applied to anything. These are just straight up raw files. You're seeing every picture, even the bad ones, as I make them. And I think that's an important point that Seth's making. A lot of times when we see things, now I'm going to tell a long story. When I first got into this, I would watch videos of people because they were like, "Daniel, you need to do some videos." And I'm like, "No." So now I'm a ham, as you can see. But I would watch videos and you'd see the photographer there with their long lens on a strap around their neck. And there'd be a model 16 feet away. And they'd be like, "This is how you do it." Click. And then it would picture this perfectly retouched finished picture with nothing in between. And it's like, well, what do you really see in there? How did they pose or how did they interact? How did they really do it? What's really going on there? So I always thought, you know what? I'm just going to show everything. So that's kind of how we do it. So if you're looking at this and you're just like, what profile is that? It's just the camera, right? And that doesn't mean go buy this camera. This camera is obsolete, according to Seth.
Okay.
It's one
well,
generation behind. Seth is already using the next generation. He uses the cameras that are beyond. He's always getting me to try to upgrade.
I upgraded the whole space. That's all I said is that I upgraded the cameras we're streaming with. Right
You
now.
know the stream cameras are more modern than your
I
camera.
just hate. You know what, Dan? If only you were relevant still. You know, if only. You know. Maybe if only I could upgrade you. You know what? I will upgrade you. I'm going to do a demo right after Dan's to
We'll
correct
get Seth in
everything.
here and do a
he said.
demo. By the way, if you guys are not following the Adorama Events channel, so it's on YouTube. It's Adorama Events, I guess, YouTube.com/Adorama Events.
Channel name is Adorama Events.
Yeah.
You're watching Adorama TV right now. Well, not you guys, but
Okay, yeah, go to that channel. Every Monday, Seth's been doing some freeform live stuff, which is pretty awesome. Plus, there's lots of other cool stuff over there. We're going to Imaging USA. Myself and Seth, not Marissa, sadly. But we're going to have a lot of fun. So if you guys are going down to Texas,
417.
booth 417 is Adorama. So check us out. There'll be demos there between us and a bunch of other photographers. And also, we have stages back to back. We're going to be like a
I just want to say, don't go to Dan's class. Go to mine first. We're the same exact time. You just saw it. You just saw it.
It's true. It's true.
So we're the same time on Tuesday, February 4th. I'm just saying, you saw it.
You should definitely go to Seth's class first. Then as you're sitting there going, what is happening here? You could come to my class to see the end.
I just want to let you know, all you refugees that leave his class bored, you're welcome at mine. I know it's going to be half of it's going to be coughing and shutting the mic off anyway. You're welcome in my class. Don't worry about it.
Go see Seth. He needs it.
I'm going to give you that one. I'm going to give you that one.
All right. Seriously, though, thanks so much. Thanks for coming out in the cold. A lot of people here today. Watching online, please subscribe if you haven't. If you're in the store, really going to cough during my closer? Wow. I'm just kidding.
You just did a demo of coughing. What are you talking about?
Sorry. All right, guys. I don't know. Oh, you gonna eat potato chips?
No, it's Octa.
Oh, no, thanks. No, my mom told me not to take candy from strangers.
It's a Octa.
Would you sign off already?
All right, I'm signing off. Seth is last ex-witness. The X is silent. This is Marissa.Roper. I'm Daniel Norton. This is the guy that messes things up.